All right, we are ready to go with the live stream. Thank you all for staying, following the worship service. So we're going to okay. So we have two parts of the business that we want to do this morning. We want to talk about installing panels to the roof, solar panels to the roof to reduce our electric bills. And the other is to install or to vote on consistory members. We should probably talk about the solar panels first. Who's going to do the most of this? Julia? Can you hear? Is it? Is it all right now? Okay. So Pastor Julia is going to present the information that we need to vote on.
We're doing solar panels first?
Yes, I think so.
All right. Well then, I have printed information for all of you in person. For those joining us online, you're just going to have to accept my spiel. There are in each of these 2 ballots as well. And by ballot, I mean blank piece of pink paper on which you can write yes or no. Oh, forgot our live streamer. So the first page is just a little 1-page information about this company, Revolve. So during the summer, I attended a webinar and I thought I had talking points. They're probably in my office. Anyway, I attended a webinar put on by an organization called Interfaith Power and Light. The Pennsylvania chapter of IPL is the one who we get our free trees from. So they're a very reputable organization, and this webinar was a presentation of information about Revolve. Revolve is a nonprofit that helps other nonprofits and houses of worship install solar panels. They get their funding from donors, grants, and the paybacks basically, from people who have installed solar panels. So the way it works, I sent them, Consistory in August approved for me to reach out and just get more information from them. So I sent them 12 months worth of our electric bills and statements. Based on that information, they got quotes from local companies that install solar panels. So the quote that we have is from a company called New Watt. And so Revolve essentially will give us a loan by paying for the installation of solar panels. So it's zero down for Solomon's United Church of Christ. Over the course of 25 years, it's a 25-year loan, we pay back to Revolve the cost of the system. The reason they do it as a loan is so that we own the system and therefore we get any government incentive monies, any electric company rebate things, those will come to us. We can use those to pay off the loan sooner, or we can put cash in our accounts. So, this is a breakdown, and I don't know if Jeff can zoom in on this. This is the very basic math. Right now, based on those 12 months of bills, we pay about $2,000, it's $1,993 in electricity, utility costs. Revolve is projecting that with solar panels, we would save at least $1,525. So what we would, in theory, and they're being conservative with these numbers, so it could be better, could be worse. But they want to be conservative so that they're not saying, you're not gonna have to pay anything to West Penn or First Energy, just in case we do have to pay something. So these conservative numbers mean that we would have an annual utility payment to First Energy of $468. That's $39 a month. So that's an annual savings of, like I said, $1,500 in utility bills. The cost of the system from New Watt would be $68,159. So that would be the loan from Revolve. The minimum government incentive that we would get back is $11,903, which makes the total cost of the system $56,257. It is possible that the government incentive number goes up. So under the Inflation Reduction Act, nonprofits and houses of worship now, because for-profit and residential homes who install solar panels get a tax credit. Nonprofits don't pay taxes. So the Inflation Reduction Act made it possible that nonprofits could have a similar incentive to install solar panels in the form of essentially cash back. So what a for-profit would get in tax credit, nonprofits and houses of worship get in a check. And that's, I think, 30%-ish. It's possible there were 3 other categories that could add 10% to that. One was if our system ends up being American made, which we won't know until New Watt starts their work. If we are in a predominantly low income area, which based on the number of students who receive our power packs, I'm going to guess that we would qualify for that. I don't know that for sure, but I'm going to guess that New Franklin would be considered a low income area. So we could get an additional 10% cash back. But even with just the flat $11,900 in government incentive to do this, our monthly payment would be $187.52 to Revolve. which is right around, and sometimes less than, what we pay monthly in electric bills. So instead of paying electric bills, we would be paying revolve, this loan, basically. And again, this $39 is a conservative estimate, so that we don't go into this just assuming that we're going to have a $0 electric bill every month. It is possible that that would happen, but we want to be cautious and conservative. That's the gist of it. Julie, did I miss anything that I... Okay. Julie was also in our meeting with Revolve when they went over all of the information. So, the other thing I want to make sure is said, because 25 years is a long time. Let's talk worst case scenario in the life of our church. In the event that Solomon's United Church of Christ comes to the end of its ministry and the building and property are sold, we can put the remaining cost of the system in that sale price and just pay off the loan to Revolve, or whoever buys the building and property would take over payments to Revolve and ownership of the solar power system. So it is a 25-year loan. Even if Solomon's UCC doesn't survive the next 25 years, there's an out with this loan. I say that to be realistic, not because there's any indication that Solomon's would come or is going to come to the end of its ministry. Does that make sense? Have I made anybody super worried by saying that? Okay. We just have to be realistic about where the church in America is right now, and we're one of the small ones. So I wanted to make sure that that was said. Julie.
The only thing that we have to worry about is whether our roof is going to pass, or we have to pass. And it was, what was it,
2005, 2008, something like that.
was when it was replaced. So they'll have to inspect it. It has to last another 25 years to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, that's the next thing. We have to take the roof out.
Yes. Yes.
We have to decide today if that happens, should we have to come another meeting to.
Mm-hmm. So.
Just not a roof.
Yeah, so all of these numbers assume that our roof is in perfect condition for this and doesn't need any maintenance before they install panels. What we're voting on today is basically moving forward. So if we sign papers with Revolve and say we want to go ahead, they will send out inspectors to inspect our roof and then adjust the numbers based on what that inspection finds out. If that changes these numbers to a point that we're not comfortable, which is something that consistory would probably call another special congregational meeting to revisit, then we can just back out. We can just say, you know what, with the additional costs of repairing the roof or replacing the roof or whatever, we can't do this at this time, and no harm, no foul. There wouldn't be any penalty from what Revolve has told us. So that's something to keep in mind as well, that if we run into something that makes it prohibitive, we can stop. Wayne.
Yes, when you
No, we stay connected to West Penn. So if we produce more energy than we use, we would send that energy to West Penn. And they would credit our account so that if we have a particularly rainy month and don't produce as much energy as we use, those credits are on our account, so we would still have a lower bill. Or if we are continually producing more than we're using, I think they send us a check
At the end of the year.
at the end of the year.
Now, how much do they reimburse you for the kilowatt? Solar, it's like 90 cents a kilowatt. So they don't reimburse us that full amount. So they take off an amount for some kind of fee.
I don't know what West Penn's numbers are. It's probably Googleable if somebody, it is 9 cents. Okay, so they would reimburse us 9 cents a kilowatt.
Is this loan, is it interest free?
It's a fixed rate.
Okay. So what is the actual, you said the cost is $56,400, that's the cost of our payment over 25 years. But I'm looking at the actual total cost of panel and installation. Do you know that?
It might be. My understanding is that this took into account interest. Because they're basically paying,
I'm looking at what I'm looking at is the total cost of your panels and installation of what you're paying over 25 years. Because you said that it was $56,400, but I don't know the actual cost of your installation. Because that does include your interest, I understand.
mhm.
You want to look at the actual cost and what the fixed rate is. But I had a question
Yes.
about when you said, so they do participate in that metering because that's when you get reimbursed for the access energy. But you need a solar battery for that. Is that included in this cost? Because a solar battery is $10,000.
I don't know, are you talking about a backup battery?
Well, you need a battery to store the energy, so if our solar panels, we collect more energy than we are using, then we're going to be credited with that from utility company, correct? But
Yes.
you have to have a solar battery to store that excess energy.
Okay.
So
I'm
is that-
assuming all of that is in there.
Well, I don't know if I assume it, but I'll be sure. So what we're saying is we're doing like, so we are on the grid, we're doing like a hybrid, so we're doing solar and electricity through West Penn.
Yes, so that in the event that we need grid energy, it still comes to us. It's not like, oh shoot, we can't turn the lights on because we had a rainy month.
Right, and from what I read, so we have to look at our roof line too, like are we maximizing the full benefit of the sun's energy? Because even if we look at the cost of our roof, are we considering like solar panels that you can put out like on the ground? Instead of, if you don't have the cost, if it's too much if your roof doesn't have gas inspection, are you looking at other alternatives?
So that is a question that we would ask if the roof came back that it needed to be repaired. We did not ask those questions in our initial meeting.
Because it might, I don't know if the installation would be that someone would think so, because they're not up to the roof, to install them, like in the yard. And you could get like the panels that would actually rotate with the sun and maximize the benefit of, the sun. Great, so that's just something to think about.
Yes, it is something to think about.
But it doesn't say in here that the roof must be in good shape or less than 10 years old.
Well, that's good, but when I looked on, like, on their Revolve, their thing online, it said you had to have, at least 10 years of life remaining in the roof.
So that's what the inspection will tell us.
Okay.
If, Because,
So,
yeah.
we have that here.
So how old is the roof here?
From the records we've found,
It's either 15 or 18 years old.
either 15 or 18-year-old roof.
15 or 18.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kind of shingles, right, it was 25, 35.
Yeah. Yeah. So it would be reasonable to vote today, keeping in mind that these numbers might change with a roof inspection. And also keeping in mind that if they change and we decide to back out, we can do that.
So what, are we getting monocrystalline panels or polycrystalline panels?
It didn't say.
It seems that we have a lot of questions that are not gonna like get answered right now, so I think that if we have a vote, whether or not we want to move forward with this, it sounds like, Charlie, you have a lot of knowledge about this.
Well, I think you want to vote before you know exactly what, there's a lot of information.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you could help, you know, if you could help to bring up those questions, and, you know, the company that is gonna install this can do whatever, like, you would come up with, that you think would be the best. We're not signing anything yet, just maybe you could do some research and find out what you feel would be the best for, and talk with the company, because you seem like you know more than any of us.
I know more than I, only because I researched it, because I wanted to ask questions, because I
Mhm.
think to be responsible, you really gotta know what you're getting into, because there's, like, there's stipulations with this involved, with this is nonprofit, so, you know, when we say you're entering into a partnership, what does that partnership entail? Like, what are our responsibilities on that end? And I know that they say, like, all warranties and operations maintenance are covered under that. Are they gonna cover the cost? Or are we responsible for the cost, like for the panels, or for maintenance? There's like so many things to consider. And I don't understand when they say the electric rates are locked in. Do they work with West Penn to lock in those rates? Because West Penn sets the electric rate, not this, not profit. So
The interest rate on the loan is fixed.
No, I'm talking about the electric rates, because when I looked on their website, they said about the electric rates would be locked in. I'm like, I don't understand how they could do that, because
So we wouldn't, with our own, we would own the system with our own solar panels. We're not paying anybody for that energy because we've paid for the system. If we end up using West Penn Energy, we would pay whatever West Penn's rate is. But the rate of paying for solar energy is just paying back the loan.
So, do we know how many kilowatt system we're getting? Because there's a big difference
I
on.
think he said it was a 12 kilowatt system. And that it would cover, it's projected to cover 109% of our energy usage based on the last 12 months of what we paid to West Penn. As if we grow and the building is open more and we have more events and kind of things, we'll use more energy, and so it won't stay at 109% coverage. But based on the energy that we used over the past 12 months, it will cover 109% of that energy.
So I guess we have a lot of questions. So.
Yes. And some of them,
Because I watched this man in a podcast, he lives in Massachusetts, and he did this, and he had all these things to consider before you even install a solar panel. So one of the things that every site that I researched said, you should have an energy audit, okay? Which is really important, because one of the things they said you should do before you even install solar panels, is you should have like everything upgraded and everything, because so I
Yeah.
spent all this money on solar energy.
Mhm.
And I think we also need to look at, I know we talked finances, because in 2022, we borrowed money from our building fund just to pay our expenses. And then we paid $9,000 for a streaming system. Now, you have to be fiscally responsible too. So if you're looking at this for your own personal or some other personal decision, if you borrow money from, if you take money from your savings and put it in your checking and pay your own, expenses in your home, you're gonna spend all this money for a solar system.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm all for a solar energy, but you've got to think realistically too. Am I doing everything I can before I make this decision?
Mhm. So one of the appeals of working with Revolve is that it's a zero upfront cost for us.
Right.
So we would drop our monthly utility bill, add in this loan payment without having to really move monies around. The other investment, quote unquote, that we would be making by going with this is a public declaration to our community about who we are as a church, about our care for the environment and desire to steward God's creation with renewable energy. Revolve would also, if we move forward with this and install the system, do a ribbon cutting to turn on the system, and they would help us plan it, invite local politicians and stakeholders. It would be a whole thing, which would really bring attention to our church. So it's not just an investment in solar, it's also an investment in our ministries and presence in the community.
I understand all that, but I'm also looking at, when we say, it is going to be comparable to pay for electricity now. So you have to realize that, especially in the Northeast, we don't get the benefit of the sunlight year round. So your energy that you get from the solar panel is not going to be really way down in the water. You don't have that benefit. So you're still gonna make that $188 payment to the winter, and you're gonna be paying for electricity more than what you did in the summer. So,
And that's where the credits that we would get during the summer would come into play. Yes. Yes. And they are excellent things for us to be thinking about.
really need to be good on it. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much that you really need to consider before making such a decision.
And you're going to keep account with what's spent.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they're going to charge you for that. You're not going to get that for free.
And that's where they make sure that we are keeping in mind some sort of payment to them.
Just like that outside now, a couple of weeks ago, we had 8, 10 days of the sunlight. So you're going to use up all these credits. If you don't have, can pay plus 10 for a hookup. So you're going to have to add that, make sure there's a lot of ifs to this.
There are a lot of ifs. I will say, even on cloudy days, solar panels still produce something. There is still some sun energy coming through. They still produce a little bit.
And, but we also need to consider doing snow. I mean, we don't get much snow anymore. I mean, if we were in some locations of our snow, because one snow hits was last, like it, how do we do it? And the rain comes flies off very quickly too. It brings the other to be able to contain all that. If you have down, I mean, that's.
Yep. Yep. I will say that snow tends to melt off of solar panels more quickly than it melts off of shingles.
Yeah, it does.
So they end up clear before the roof. Fortunately, we have where those solar panels would be, if that happens, if the snow just falls off, it's all garden. So nobody should be under it.
Be on this side, because it doesn't take so much.
Our whole roof gets sun, so I don't know where they would want to put them. But either way, snow would be falling into garden and not in front of a door or parking lot. I guess we would maybe want to check out this door. But Mhm.
But another thing I do want to put out there, and I didn't turn off in the 39 pages, is First Energy has a 39-page pamphlet that says 100 ways to save energy before you, I mean, look at all of these things you have to be done them before you install solar panels. Because that's one of, every site that I went to, that's the first thing you should be doing. Because it does make sense.
Mhm.
And do we have to be estimates?
We are waiting on a second one, and we'll go with whichever is the most financially responsible. So there are 2 installation companies that Revolve works with in our vicinity, and they're still waiting. I was hoping to have it before today to present those numbers to you, but unfortunately, Revolve has not yet gotten it.
So Revolve does vet the installers?
Yes.
Make sure they are certified?
Yes,
That's really not necessary for.
right.
I know some people try to do this stuff, but it's not.
No. Revolve has done a number of these installations and is recommended by other nonprofits and houses of worship. There is a church in California that did solar panels and has added to their ministries that anytime the neighborhoods around them lose power because of their solar, they can still operate. So people bring medicines that need to stay cold to their refrigerator. They can come to the church and charge their phones, have a cup of coffee, kind of thing. We obviously don't lose power as often as California because we don't have earthquakes or fires. Praise God. May that continue. But in the event of a big storm and we do lose power, that would be a great thing for us to do, is to open our doors and say, if you have medicine that needs to stay cold, bring it here. Come charge your phone. Come have a cup of coffee, kind of thing. So there is, as I said, additional opportunity for ministry with solar panels as well.
Was Revolve, were they on site? Did they come out here and look at this area, the plant itself, when they made the proposal on?
No, they did the proposal based solely on the 12 months of electric bills that I sent them and a little blurb about our church. They also, I think, checked out our website and social media pages.
Because getting back to what we discussed earlier, years ago when I envisioned solar panels, I personally didn't think about the roof. I thought about the embankment. And I'm just wondering, getting back to what we said before, if that would be a consideration, would be more cost effective.
Yeah.
And another point, I'll tell you, in the 40 years that I was here, the time that we were noticed as a church was when we had a nursery school and when we had a soccer field for youth soccer out front. I would meet people in town and I would tell them that I was pastor at Solomon's United Church. And nobody said, oh, that's where the great preaching is, and that's where the great ministry is. Well, that's the soccer church. And that's the nursery school church. So what people see when they drive by is important. And I think if nothing else, personally, solar panels, as you suggested, will be seen, will be taken notice, and people will, as a result, say, that church is doing something. That church is doing something. So this is as much a matter of taking a faith step. I can't tell you how many times over the years, it came down to money, and money went out. I'd really love to see more faith step.
I was part of a church in Hagerstown who had 2 campuses in Hagerstown, and the pastor decided one day, God's telling me to plant a campus in Chambersburg. And everybody said, do we have enough people? Do we have the volunteers? Can we afford it? And his response was always, God's telling me to do this, God's going to provide. And sure enough, that campus in Chambersburg is still here, still vibrant. So there is something to be said about bold steps of faith. And before we vote, I am going to force us to take a minute to pray. Whether you pray or not, that minute will be there, so that this is a prayerfully considered decision, so that we take time to listen to what God wants for our church, and especially in the context of this decision. So we will be taking our faith into account with this. And I think I'm going to guess that Revolve went specifically with a roof installation because so many churches don't have acreage like we do. It is very worth revisiting and saying, in the event that our roof isn't in good enough condition for this, would New Watt or the other company consider in-ground or the posts on embankments or down in the field a little bit, or I don't know, because they would have to dig for the posts, so I don't know.
And also, we also have solar roofs, so the roof is, I mean, possibly, and I know that they're not in the solar shingles, they're not as efficient as they don't, but it's not that big of a difference. So you have to be very clock and a solar roof or solar shingles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's another thing to consider, if,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this vote today is for us to proceed, how?
So the vote today is, do we want to proceed with Revolve and begin the process of installation, basically, and understanding that that process starts with a roof inspection. And then we would revisit the numbers and at that point say, what about solar panels in an open space on the property, or a solar roof, or awesome, our roof's in great shape, let's go ahead. So at that point, that's when we can ask those questions. After the roof is installed, they get, or inspected, they get the permits and all of that, and then they start installing. They're also going to inspect our, stuff downstairs. And so if that needs to be replaced or updated, they'll adjust these numbers to tell us about that too, which we can then also revisit as a congregation if it's a concern.
The electrical panel.
Yes, thank you, thank you. The electrical panel, the inside stuff, the electrical panel stuff.
So that means the wiring and bonding stuff doesn't carry electricity, that's not heat.
Mhm.
I'm all for it, I'm all for the solar system, but I really think to follow the advice of energy companies. There's other ways we can use the phone to do your energy efficient other things in your building.
Mhm.
Consider. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I just had four windows replacement costs, and it cost me $16,000. And that was really great. I mean, I probably could have did it myself, but I didn't want to. So imagine if we had to put windows here, what would be the cost of doing our windows or installation? Those. Well, I don't even know that they have storage on the outside. But are they old storm windows? I don't know.
Yeah, so if we were to do all of that, it would be
A whole lot more.
expenses
You need
out
to.
of pocket.
That would be,
Mhm.
it might be fine, you don't know until you have to have an audit, what you really need to do.
Mhm.
And your insurance, I mean, your utility company might do that for you, I don't know if you do it free, if you can do it every audit, or, I'm not sure.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's, even if you all vote today to move forward with solar panels, that is something worth doing in conjunction with that. So regardless of the vote today, that is all worth doing and something we should,
That's panel is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Do all that other stuff first, be able to install it, and might not be done.
sure.
Somebody needs to do all these things. And it's not going to be me.
No, but
That
that
should
should be
not
done
be
before you propose it.
I know, but if somebody could volunteer to spearhead this, that would be amazing. Because, you know, there has to be, it's all well and good to say we can do this, this, and this, and this. But we need somebody to be in charge of that and to say, you know, to deal with the solar company. We need help. So if these are all concerns and stuff, it's got to be, there have to be people that are going to actually do all this. I'm just
Mhm.
saying, because it is, I mean, I see things all around constantly that need to be taken care of, but somebody's got to do it. So if anyone is willing to volunteer to spearhead this, I mean, I think that
Yeah.
would be.
We are in the liminal space at Solomon's of needing to be doing things to attract people, but needing people to be able to do those things. And that's a tough spot to be, because I, as your pastor, don't want to spread all of you very thin. So what are the things that we can do with the people that we have that will help us grow, and the person power that we have that will help us grow, help us attract people from our community? And the reality is, people don't come to church anymore because they're seeking God. People have realized that they can find God outside of four walls and a steeple. And that's the reality of the church in America. People are coming to church because they see the church involved in the community, addressing justice issues, doing things. And because they're like, hey, that's a community that I want to be part of. I like gardening. I want to learn how to homestead. Solomon's has a community garden. Let me go for the garden. You know, I can study the Bible and do all that on my own. I have access to the library. It's the community and the justice work that we have to do together. And so as a pastor, seeing the decline of the American church, not just local churches, this is something that we could do with the person power that we have to declare to our community who we are and invite some new people in.
So again, this vote is to proceed, to invite them to come, take a survey, and maybe in the meantime, on the West End, they can do an energy audit as well.
Sure.
And at some point, there's going to be another vote, whether we want to proceed with what they recommend, or
At some point, there will, unless these numbers don't change at all or go down, there will be another special congregational meeting to discuss the new numbers and if we are still comfortable with them. If they go down, I'm going to say, great, congregation has approved the higher number. So we're going to go with the lower one.
I just Googled the energy company, it depends on the size of your business or place, and it can be anywhere from $500 to $5,000 for an energy company.
That's interesting.
This is just in general cost of a business in our
reach out.
area.
they would put you in touch with someone
Yeah.
who does energy audits, put you in charge of.
Okay, okay. Again, something that's worth doing regardless of today's vote. Susie?
What other nonprofit church or nonprofit organization has ever done this? Anybody locally within the next, 100 miles or so?
Not that I know of off the top of my head. I can like a millennial pull out my phone and pull up Revolve's website. I know there have been a number.
A lot of businesses that use their
Apparently Revolve is also a fashion company. So different Revolve. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. So they have done work in 17 states. They have funded 66 projects to date. 105,000 tons of CO2 avoided. It looks like they have done, here we go, some projects in Pennsylvania and Maryland. So there's one in Baltimore and one in Philly that they have worked with. The one in Philly is a United Methodist Church. This is not mobile friendly. Looks like a nonprofit called Sandy Spring in Baltimore. A couple in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Colorado, New Mexico. Revolve is located in California, so they've done 36 in California. One in Oregon, Washington, Montana. Yeah. So they have done 66 projects to date. 36 of those are in California.
Even towards Mercersburg and outer areas of Janesville, there are solar farms everywhere. Out towards Williamson, those areas, we have fields and fields and fields of solar farms
Yeah.
to help people in their areas.
Yep. There was somebody from our church mentioned to me the concern of solar farms taking land away from food production, which is a benefit to nonprofits and businesses and homes putting solar panels on their roof or on their property, which isn't farmland anyway, and then excess energy going back to the grid. So. Any other questions, comments, concerns about this information?
So what you're saying, Julia, is the vote today is just to say, get them to come to do the inspection, and then we will see what that brings.
Yes.
And that will be brought back to the church then.
Yes.
So that vote is not really signing a contract with them?
We would sign a contract to get started with we can back out if it becomes, yes. Yes.
The technicality with this vote is the Constitution of our church says that the consistory needs to get congregational approval to borrow any amount over $10,000. So technically, the consistory can decide to, it's just if the decision is made to borrow the money and it's more than $10,000, we have to have congregation. But we felt that we needed to have the congregation as we find that before making such a major decision. And then the George is amount for the
Not as far as I know. No. Nope. So it's a loan from Revolve with zero upfront cost, and the reason they format it as a loan is so that we own the system, so that any energy credits, government incentives, utility company rebates come to us instead of going to Revolve. I think in the past, Revolve has done leases, and there was one other that I'm blanking on. The issue with those is that Revolve owned the system until it was paid off. So they're formatting this as a loan. Basically, they're going to pay New Watt, and then we're going to do a monthly payment back to Revolve. We don't have to take out a bank loan. Revolve is loaning us money that they already have. So Revolve is going to use money that Revolve has to pay New Watt, and then we're going to pay Revolve back. We do not have to go to the bank for anything.
They'll be the loan company.
Yeah. Yeah. Revolve will be the loan company.
So, I never heard that answer that question. So we own the system, but yet Revolve then be responsible for like all the work and operations and maintenance. So that would be offered. So what if one of the dams get broken and needs repaired? Are we finally responsible for it?
It would be under warranty with New Watt.
So do you know how long that warranty is?
We do. It was oh gosh, if I'm remembering it correctly, it was a 10-year warranty for like if a bolt puts a hole in our roof and we end up with a leak. And I think it was a 20 or 25-year warranty for the system for issues with like the panels and things. Do you remember, Julie, what the warranty numbers were? There was the warranty for the panels and system itself, and then there was a warranty for basically our building. And the yeah. I'm pretty sure it was the 10-year for anything they do to the building to install, and then it was longer than that for the panels and system itself. Yes, that's the estimated utility savings.
Because why I said that, because when I was reading it, the return on the investment should be 7 to 12 years. It
Yes.
sounds like that's going to be more than 12 years of return on investment.
We are projected to become cash flow positive after year 7 of the loan. And that might not be a big positive. So over the course of the 25-year loan, Solomon's is projected to save about $80,000 with a solar panel system over the course of 25 years. or other questions, concerns, comments? If somebody feels like we're ready to make that motion. I presented the information, but I think you're actually leading the meeting.
If there are no more questions, then we are looking for a vote to proceed with a motion to proceed with the vote. There's a motion and a second
Okay.
to proceed with the vote. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion carries.
Okay. Before you write anything on your little pink slip of paper, let's take, you know what, we're going to give it a full minute to pray about this. Please, please, please seek God's guidance before you write anything. All right, whenever you are ready, our minute is up. Of course, you can take longer if you need to. Oh, sorry, the pink slip? Yes. For you to write your vote.
Oh, I thought we already did that.
Oh, that was the motion to vote.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Joined us online and would like your vote to be counted, go ahead and put it in the chat.
Are the other ballots stuck to that?
The other ballot is for the consistory people.
Yes, I also wasn't sure how many people would be here, and I didn't want to print a million packets of the Revolve info, so I put 2 ballots with each one, thinking couples could share. But we have less than 20 people here in person. So your second ballot you'll use for the consistory election.
Okay.
So please don't stuff the ballot box. That is not an honest and faithful thing to do.
All right. So hopefully the votes are in for the solar panel issue. Now we are open for consistory people. We have one person volunteered, that is John Enterline. He will have to go in as a deacon. So are there any other volunteers for elder and trustee? Did anybody ask anyone else to serve? That's who I thought about. but she's not here today, so I was gonna ask her. Probably at the cabin. She's probably at the cabin. So the only person we have on the ballot is John Enterline for deacon that has accepted the nomination. So is there a motion, since there's no other opposition, is there a motion on the floor for the secretary to cast a ballot for John Enterline for elder? And we will confront other people with hopes of yes. Okay, so there's a motion for the secretary to cast the ballot. Is there a second? And a second. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? A motion is made to adjourn. Okay.
Is there a way that we can make a motion that simply approves the appointment of a deacon to an elder and a trustee? Because otherwise, how are we going to vote for these other people? I don't know, I feel like it's not going to be constitutional, I guess. All right, I make a motion, we need to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. And a second. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I'm feeling this